Hey guys, it's Simon with Trade and Perform Coaching. Wanted to do the trade review for ES today, both the trap and I wanted to show you a relationship between the higher time frame chart and a lower time frame chart for my scalpers, right? So first, let's just look at it purely from the levels standpoint. So from the levels, when you get to the levels, what you obviously want to take is the white bars up and the green bars up. And then derivatives thereof, like green bar stuffed, etc., or apex traps, right? So let's just keep it simple and show what worked, right? So this was from overnight in the European session. This was coming right after European Open, and I'm only going to look on the 8 tick, but I'm going to show you how to convert the 8 to the 5 at the end of this video. It'll be relatively short. So zone 1, right? That's obviously a stop unless you took a really fast scalp. Trade 2, white bar up, yellow dot. That took place, let's call it around 4:35 in the morning Central Time here in the States. Beautiful lift to the upside. You see we come back into support. No algo on the lift back up. Then we push down. This is in the open, so this is US session open, and this is by definition open drive lower. You can see they busted both of those zones. Now, a couple of things here. When they bust a zone like this, where it should hold during the US session, you can bet that they're going to reject it back on the other side. Not that I'm a very big fan of shorting, but that's going to be your first target up, right? We come down. This is 8:41, and I listed both on Twitter and in the room, obviously. 63.33 was one level, and then 63.19 was another, and we wrote down if you lose 63.33, you're probably looking for 63.19, and even with that, this zone was pretty important here. So come down, white bar down, followed by white bar up, yellow dot, you get an extension. This extension here, your entry would have been roughly 63.24 and extended up to 63.31, so about 7 points. Comes back and they attempt to take out the low. Now, this is an important relationship here, right? They pushed up with a white square, a yellow dot, and a white bar. All three of those are separate algos, showing there's a lot of volume. But they pushed back down even harder. Green bar down, which is divergent, yellow dot, and blue square. So here they try to lift. This guy is actually saying, hey, I'm trying to break that 63.19, and he couldn't do it. You see we came just within a tick of that 63.19, stuffed this guy, and you can see that was the lift. Now, that's the lift off the bottom. Nothing wrong with that, right? But this right here, see this? Is this 63.33? Once you trade 3 or 4 points above it, let's just call it 4 points. Once you hit 63.37 over here, we've now retrapped 63.33. This is really important, guys in the room. If you want to record what the trap looks like, because if you look off to the right, later, this is much, much more valuable. And if you look what I wrote in the room, excuse me, go grab it really quick. And I wrote up here, where did I write this? Oh, there we go. Okay. 11:06 a.m. So just so you get the knowledge of where we're at, right? This is at 11:06, right over here. Okay. And I've written, ES is trapped, per Adam's method. He never mentioned stops, but can't be more than below, more than 10 is what I meant to write. Sorry, more than 10 below 63.33, right? He goes, and you're shooting for a 5 to 10 point scale, and then trail up. I'm going to cover this in more detail in just a second, right? And then you're shooting for 5 to 10 points for heavy scale, and then you're trailing up. So let's look at what we actually got here. You get 63.37, we're trapped, and now we retrace from 63.37 back to 2 times the opening range, right? which was 63.28. Let's just call it 63.27. So that was from the peak to the bottom was a 10-point counter rotation. So you want to remember that for future reference. If you entered anywhere above here, right, and I'll cover what I would have used to enter, but obviously I want it probably a green bar up or a white bar up to enter. So once this is trapped, and I'll discuss this in just a second, this is really your first best entry bar. You could have used the white bar stuffed here and used the 63.36, but either way, you didn't want it any more than 63.23 behind. The other method you could have used here, and again, there's multiple ways to manage this, is you could have come from here to here. This is the 62 retrace. You just could have said, I don't want it to close behind the 62 retrace, right? And then on the extension, you can see anywhere that your entry would have been in this area from the trap, you pushed all the way up to 63.52. So the ideal goal would have been one of two things. If you don't want to pick off the bottom, that's fine. But then you're really looking for, if we look at this from a different perspective, right? If you look at this from a different perspective, guys, we go supernova right here. We have to break the swing. We break the swing. You draw your 50-60 back. You get your green bar up right here, right? And then you push out from 63.32 all the way up to 63.52. So you get a 2-to-1 RR. You're gonna, somewhere in here, you're dealing with either a 32 against a 27. So if you're using a 1-bar stop on that green bar up, right? And this comes where each person has to polish off their final entry. But if you do 63.32 with, let's say, a 26 stop, so that's 6 points, and from that 6 points, you're able to derive 20 points. So that's greater than a 3-to-1 RR. It's a great risk reward, right? And then we finished out, and we came all the way up. So obviously that made sense. So that's what I wanted to point out to you. You had 3 key entries that could have worked very nicely. This 63.19 was important. The 63.33 was important because it was lost and recaptured. The other way you can look at the loss and recaptured is I have 2 different ways of deriving this zone, but you can, if you shift that conversation a little bit, you can even say that this zone was lost, right? Remember I said they sliced right through it? So now shift, pretend like you didn't have the Adams lines, right? So we had 63.37 marked off as a level and 63.42, right? So this is the other way of looking at it. So you recaptured those levels. We retraced back here. I'm going to draw it out again. Supernova again. Back into the 50-60 and green bar up. You'll notice on those ES, on those 8 ticks, you can make the green bar the hallmark of your trading entries. And again, your entry here was roughly 63.38. We'll say call it 39 to make the numbers even. And your stop was roughly 32, 7 points. You took it from 38 to 53, so it's 38, 48, 15 points. So it was almost a 2-to-1 RR on that trade. And you had to have the RR to qualify these accounts or to get paid in your own cash account. Okay, so the last piece I want to leave here that's important for me is the scalping method on ES. So I'm going to put these side by side. I'm going to save this differently. Hold on 1 second. Save all. And file. Save as. Coaching. Let's find it. We'll just change it. Here. Save this test. Okay. So we've saved this test. A little bit of cold water. We are now going to erase our levels off the hourly. And now I'm going to show you something that has absolutely nothing to do with, why do I still have this? There must be another hourly chart. Let's see, there we go. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to have this chart. So on the left I have an 8-tick chart, and on the right I have a 5-tick. As a matter of fact, we're going to take it one step further. So I want a smaller stop. We'll just leave it at 5 ticks. Actually, let's just leave it at 5 ticks. It's fine. You can play with a 4-tick or what you want, whatever makes you happy. In terms of, I encourage members to experiment with the algo to make it work for whatever method they need. So now I'm going to go through here, and I want to show you today, and then I'm going to go back when it was more volatile, right? So the idea behind this is, look, if you get a algo up, so we'll just go Tuesday. If you get an algo up, right, and it triggers a long on the 8-tick, what could you do from a smaller standpoint to get a higher risk reward to have the trade follow through for you? So I'm going to show you. So see right here, we're going to start overnight. So first I get, this is coming to today, I get this white bar up. So I'm going to come back over here. So that's this bar right here. So you can see I'll draw arrows to it. So this green bar up, that bar, you'll notice, so the way Sierra chart works, I have to put it on the next bar, because when you carry it over, where this bar ends is where the new bar begins, and so that's why that line's on this particular bar. That bar ended one and started another. So I need the green bar up over here. And what I want is I want a green bar, and I want that up, and I want that green bar to complete above the low of this bar. So I would put a line underneath it just like this. Okay, lines underneath it, which means this bar, this green bar up, still qualifies, becomes an apex trap. But the reason why I'm dropping from an 8-tick to a 4-tick is because I want the stop to be pretty small on this, right? So you can see this whole bar is a 40 to 36.50, and if I just use the body of the bar itself, it's actually a 40 1/4 to 39, which means that if I stretch, that's 4 points up with a 1 1/4 to 1.5 point stop, right? So if you look, we then lose this low and we can't recapture it. See how I can't close back up on that 39.50? So you do nothing until you get to this white bar up, right? On that white bar up, I'm now going to pit the line. I'm being very specific right here, right? So here we'll color it a different color so you can see it easily. We'll make it wider. Okay, so see that bar, and then I'm going to put a line, another line underneath the low. So the rules are, right? So the rules are, I want the 63.35. I want whatever trigger I'm going to get on the 5 ticks. Remember, I'm going from the 8 over to 5. Whatever trigger I'm getting on the 5-tick to occur where the close of that 5-tick bar is above 63.35.50. Then I'm going to enter on the next green bar up. That's this entry right here. Okay, and then you can see we extend up from 63.44 to 63.49, and you can see you took no heat. And what you're going to see, that is a common theme between on that ES. That's a common theme on that lift. Sorry, it's in Texas, and my little air conditioner in my office is just not keeping up with the heat. So pauses for water for sure. So that's your entry. You obviously, let's just call it a 2 points of risk, so 42, and you obviously got 44 to 49, giving you a 2 to 1 RR on that trade. And now I'm looking for my next trade. So remember, my next green bar up, this is still valid. It hasn't violated 63.35, so I'd go long at 63.42.50. Right, again, just to show you where that long would come from, would be right here. That was 831. Now, remember, this all holds as long as 63.35 holds, right? So, just going to go bar by bar on this. Okay. See how we've now closed below 63.35? And if the bar up, right, so you can clearly see there's no way to trap back above this. So at this point, I have to get a green bar or white bar up on my 8-tick ES before I start looking for a trade again. This accomplishes two things. First of all, it should take you a little off edge. It'll take you off edge because you're going to have to wait for that 8-tick to form. You may get bored, all right? Now, stop. There's the first white bar up, right? So on the next bar prints, I'm going to do my same process. Line here. Yeah, let me copy this. Right there. And I'm going to put my line underneath. Line here. So I don't want a bar that if my signal closes up below 63.19 on the 5, it's invalidated. And I'm looking for my next green bar up. This is my next green bar up. My entry is right here at roughly 63.28.75. We'll call it 63.29. Okay, so before that stopped, I got a maximum favorable excursion. Let's just call it 31. So 29 to 31, 2 points, right? So remember, your risk on this is 2 points. So you would, one way is to scale and trail. Some of y'all will want to put the stop at the bottom. I don't see any reason to really do much more than 2.5 points a stop on this trade, right? So that's a break-even trade. But as long as I don't invalidate 63.19, my next green bar up is still valid, okay? So we're going to watch as it comes across. I'm looking on the right chart only. Green or white up. Green up. Okay, so my entry is 63.32. Did not invalidate the 63.19. Let's just see what happens. So obviously I got my 2 points. I didn't take any heat off of that. So you have more than your 1 RR. You entered 22. You've already traded up to 29. Giving you a 3-to-1 RR on that trade. And as long as the 19 isn't invalidated, that green bar is valid for a stack, again with a 2-point stop. And that would have gotten stopped on the trailer, but the 28 was still valid. And again, you see that you could have gone and continued to the upside. And really, my opinion would be that all those green bars are valid. Obviously, there's some point we're going to say, well, I'm done and I'm going to wait for another pullback. But as long as they're printing, and that one would have chopped you for 2 points if you took it, right? But you clearly came out quite nicely in that series between 905 and 947. Now what are we doing? We're waiting for. So at this point you can say, hey, I need a pullback, right? Which is fine. Just wait for your pull down. But there's your next green bar up. It's only giving you 2 points. You're right in a resistance zone is what's happening. So you're looking at this point. I would say, hey, I need another green bar up. Now you've got it. Hold on a sec. You've got a green bar up now here at this opening range times 2. So I'm going to move this over. Put it right there. Now I'm looking for my next green bar up on the 5-tick. And that's all the way up here. And I probably didn't take that at 11.52. Like, it already ran. It worked, but I probably didn't take it. It worked. I would like it on the turn. So that's that. And then as long as that 19 doesn't invalidate. So now I'm going to say again, I want a green bar up here, right? So there's the green bar up. Again, I'm going to move this over. That forms right there. And you can see that first green bar was right afterwards. That one I would probably take. The difference was where they're forming. See, this forms, and the green bar didn't come all the way till up here. This forms, and the green bar is immediate. I've got to point something out on this. Volatility was higher on this bar. And you needed, so you can adjust your expectations, you needed 2 points a stop to let that survive. So probably 2.5 points a stop to start with, just like Lewis does. Right, guys? And you can see the ripper there. Again, at this point, I'd be looking for a pullback again. This is end of the day and into the close, and yeah, that's that. So that's the relationship. Now, what I want everyone to do, so I don't bore everyone because it's already 5:30 in the evening. I'm going to go back over to my family. What I want everyone to do is go and look at the relationship. I'll be trading that relationship tomorrow morning. We do have a green bar up, any green bar up. Algo, I'm dusting it off and bringing it out to play, along with a couple others, but I'm going to take my girls out first, and then for dinner, and then I will make another video either tonight or early tomorrow morning, and I hope this helps. Anyways, let's go make more money tomorrow, guys. We had a good day. The trap worked beautifully today.